Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be going over breaking free from the matrix, the modern day matrix, and this is why I'm explaining to you this in this format in a very simple way to understand. So, in modern life is built in a way that quietly shapes people from how they people think, behavior, and spend their energy. The system around the technology, money, media, and culture are designed to keep things predictable and efficient. They reward compliance, routine, and consumption much more than curiosity, independence, and deep personal growth. From the beginning, people are trained to focus on survival and status. Work more, buy more, compare more, keep up, meaning and self understanding exists, but they are punished to the side and pushed to the side because they do not directly serve the system. People who are deeply self aware, independent in thought, and internally driven are harder to control and harder to profit from. That makes them inconvenient. So, the perplexity of this modern system is not random. Finance, media, and politicians are layered in ways that make the full picture hard to see. When things feel confusing or overwhelmed, most people disengage, they distance themselves, numb out, or accept the situation as that's just how life is. Facing the truth would mean recognizing how much of their life, attention, and freedom they have handed over without questioning. Just listen to that for a moment, dude. A lot of people go in this life without questioning anything. They don't question their religion, they don't question their beliefs, they don't question who they are, they don't even question what the hell the life mission is. Like, imagine living in a world where you just don't know what to do in life. You just completely think that life is just clueless. You think that things are just gonna be given to you easily. Like, I've learned that in this world, bro, everything's hard, bro. Like, you need to understand that, dude, this world is fucking difficult. So, this creates a quiet trap. Life stays busy but shallow and comfortable but unfulfilling. People sense something is missing, but they are rarely stopped long enough to examine why escapism feels easier than responsibility. Distractions feel safer than awareness. Breaking out of this does not require rejecting society or fighting the system directly. It starts with understanding how it works and how it shapes behavior. Awareness restores choice. When you see the mechanism clearly, you can begin to step outward and outside automatic patterns and make decisions based on meaning inside of conditions. Freedom begins internally. Understand that. Freedom begins within yourself, bro. When you get rid of all the stupid fucking noise that people try telling you, people try manipulating you into stupid believing in the shit that you know that logical thinking makes you think, but you just don't want to question it because of fear. It starts by questioning what you were taught to value. Notice where your attention goes in choosing growth over comfort. The system is powerful, but it only works fully when it goes unnoticed. Understanding is the first step towards living deliberately rather than passively. So, this whole meaning of this whole thing is pretty much I want you to live a life where you know what you're doing and you know what directions, what kind of mindset you got, or whatever the hell you got going on in your life, bro. You just need to be aware of what's going on and make sure you're questioning everything in life, man. Because if you don't question anything, I feel like you don't really gain anything in life. You really don't, bro. And it took me a while to get to this state, bro. But it's just the power of not giving up, man. Just keep learning, keep going, and keep doing, bro. Like, you're gonna get deep into the rabbit hole, man. And it's crazy how life really tends to shock you in a way, man. But for the better. So, these are the 5 pillars of modern imprisonment. Modern life pulls people away from themselves in quiet, ordinary ways. Attention is constantly fragmented by screens, notification, news, and endless streams of content. The mind stays alert and reactive. Chasing quick stimulation instead of slowing down is think deeply. When attention is scattered like this, reflections become rare and directions become unclear. Time and energy are traded for survival. Work is often structured and around necessity rather than meaning. Like, with depth and bills creating pressure that limits choice, the promise of getting ahead someday keeps people moving even when the work itself feels empty. Over time, this creates exhaustion rather than fulfillment. Like, you get exhausted just by you thinking of the work and you not even doing it. And that right there is called resistance, because the more resistance you have from achieving the certain goal that you want to achieve or become this version of who you think you want to be, like, you just thinking about it just fries up your brain, bro, instead of actually just doing it, you know? And it goes deeper, bro. Like, from early ages, behavior is shaped towards conformity. Approval is rewarded, risking is discouraged, failure is feared. Individuality is allowed only when it fits in molds that can be solid, liked, or validated. This teaches people to perform instead of explore, to follow paths instead of questioning them. Technology amplifies this effect. Algorithm learns habits, fears, and preferences, then feeding back content that keeps attention locked in place. What you see repeatedly begin is to feel true. Beliefs harden and curiosity narrows. Decisions feels like choices and more like habits being nude along. At the same time, meaning becomes packaged and sold. Connection is replaced with platforms. Purpose is reduced to subscriptions, trends, or productive metrics. Community thins out. People are surrounded by others yet feel increasingly alone. None of this requires force. It works because it feels normal. Busy, confinement, safe, but the cost is subtitle. The less clarity, the less agency and urgency, and the less content with that actually matters. Awareness is the first step in that cycle. When you see how attention, time, and value are being shaped, you regain the ability to choose different. Okay? So, when you step into this new void that is very deep that you don't know what to do, so you're going to find this, and this is how you're going to control it. All right? So this is a mechanism of how to control and how to keep you trapped. So this is how they keep you trapped. This is how you escape it, pretty much. So what's being described is the system that keeps people stuck by shaping how they think, feel, and pay attention, often without them realizing it. First, attention is constantly broken into small pieces. Mind is kept busy with endless stimulation, scrolling, alerts, headlines, or noise, so they're never thought question to sit with discomfort or asking deeper questions. When attention is always jumped, depth disappeared, life becomes restricted instead of reflection. At the same time, fear and desire are deliberately triggered. Worries about money, rejection, falling behind, or becoming irrelevant are keep active. Promises of success or happiness are always just out of the reach, creating loops where effort never really feels comfortable. You keep chasing, but satisfaction never arrives. Over time, average behaviors is made to feel normal and safe. Complaining replaces action. People bond over frustration instead of change. Anyone who steps outside this pattern is labeled unrealistic or unstable, while staying the same is praised as sensible. This slowly lowers expectations of what life could be. Informed itself is also filtered. You're shown that what agrees with what you already believe and shielded from what might actually challenge you. Learning becomes memorizing facts instead of developing judgment. Thinking is guided rather than strength. Put it together, this creates a unique trap that is quiet. You're busy, tired, and occupied, but not fulfilled. And this is crazy because this is what I was starting to do, man. For the past 3 years, I just kept working on these stupid things, but I just didn't know what the fuck I was doing because I was just wanting to feel gratification. You know what I mean? And you feel free, yet you rarely choose deliberately. Nothing dramatic happens, which is exactly why it works. The system doesn't need force. It just needs your attention, your fear, and your time. That's all it needs. Make this on a piece of whiteboard, bro. The system, the universe, the evil people, the people that want to control you, bro. As funny as this maybe sound, but you need to be aware of your attention, your fear, and your time. Okay? Because the longer this runs unchecked, the harder it becomes to remember that another way of living is even possible. Because if not, you're gonna be imprisoned from your own mind, bro. And it's hard for you to even break free from that, man, because of so much beliefs within your religion, beliefs within yourself. You know, just so many things that you need to be rewiring your brain, bro. You need to like rewire it, bro, because I feel like the first step into enlightenment, the first step to getting closer to God, the first step to anything in life is just questioning and having a logical reason, you know, and to feel within your heart what's best for you, bro. Like, that's the basically thing to do, man. And the depth of this control is thoughtful because it is evolved organically from human flaws amplified by technology and power structure. We comprehend, glimpse, recognize that social media is harmful or that works feels meaningless. But the full web remains too vast to see while we are still plugged in. It's like trying to understand the matrix from the inside, where every perception is filtered through the very system we're trying to escape. And gets a little bit more. This gets a little bit more tricky, okay? Because the path to liberation begins with awareness. What being expressed here is the cost of choosing awareness over comfort. So it's easy to choose comfort, which is very interesting because your brain is designed for comfort, bro. Your brain is literally designed for you to keep you lazy, and it's hard to break free from that, man. Because how are you gonna break? How are you gonna rewire your brain when you've been wired to hard work is hard, and easy work is safer and comfortable because it keeps you safe. It doesn't let you, get exposed into the randomness of the unknown because your mind hates the unknown. But your physical body, and you could tell your physical body what to do, but the crazy power of thoughts, bro, is that if you're not in checked in with your own thoughts, then they start to take over, and whatever belief systems you have within your own mind, takes over from that. You know what I mean? It's kind of complicated, but I'll get into more of that. But this path offers no guarantee. You don't get promise of success, enlightenment, or becoming someone extraordinary. You may fail. You may realize that you're ordinary, that the fantasy version of you is held onto, and the realization can sting. The real work isn't discovering something magical. It's facing the parts of yourself that participated in staying stuck and deciding to change anyway. So, facing yourself is really the most difficult thing in the world, bro, because nobody understands you more than your own self. You need to be more responsible. Like, it's hard to be responsible because you've been conditioned to always blame others, and I was a victim of it, you know what I mean? But choosing freedom means stepping out of the numb familiarity. It means disturbing routines, beliefs, and relationships that once felt safe. Some people will understand the shift. Some will distance themselves. An uncertainty replaces predictability. And for a while, it can feel like you've lost your footing. You begin to see patterns others ignore, and awareness can feel isolating, even destabilizing. Comfort fights back because it's addictive. The system thrives on people staying passive, distracted, and waiting. It rewards delay. It encourages someday. Staying asleep feels easier than staying alert in the world that demands responsibility, attention, and courage. But if you endure the discomfort instead of escaping it, clarity slowly arrives. Confusion gives way to understand. You begin to recognize how things actually are. Not to rebel blindly, but to choose consciously. You stop paying by default and rules and start acting with intent. What emerges isn't perfection or superiority, it's authenticity. Like, your brain and who you are, bro, will look for authenticity because your whole life you've just been lying to yourself and you've just been saying to yourself so much full of shit. And for you to build authenticity, bro, you start with simple shit. Just simple little goals that you get to actually be comfortable with who you are. And it's quite difficult because you've been conditioned to not even love yourself, to hate everybody, and to just go with the crowd. It's hard to detach yourself from that people, from that crowd, and it's difficult. That's why I'm here. So, a version of you that isn't polished but real, not fearless but awake. And the reason it begins now is simple. Postponement is the most effective way to remain exactly where you are. Postponement. Remember that. So these are step 1, 2, 3 to reclaim your mind and your resources. This selection is laid out in 3 concepts and correction actions for reclaiming control of your life, starting from the inside and moving outwardly. Okay, from so within, from so without. Everything starts from within. Okay, it's written as a progress: attention first, then belief, then materialistic leverage. So the first idea is your focused attention. The message is that direction is not neutral, but it's activated during your ability to think clearly. Constant stimulation fragments your mind and keeps you reactive. By removing apps, separating yourself from your phone, and allowing boredom, you create the conditions of original thought. Insight doesn't come from endless input, it comes from when the noise stops. Reading challenging materialistic instead of consuming affirmations content forces you to confront ideas rather than passively absorb them. The deeper point is not productivity but sovereignty, taking back ownership of your own mind from systems designed to profit from your own distraction. Like, think about it, bro. We don't know how to be focused. Like, you have this little bit of attention span, and I've been conditioned of it as well. Everybody is conditioned, bro. Everybody's been manipulated and lied to, man. And it's hard, dude. It's so fucking hard to build your attention, build all this shit back. And The only crucial and logical way, and that is very simple, is to observe and think of what you're going to be doing. And after what you've done and you build your breath work, you just take action and don't second guess it. And the crazy thing is, you just have to open or do something, just have something in motion, okay? Because the second idea of moving is influence. Everything you consume, media, conversations, habits, shapes you how you think, often without your awareness. This section argues from deliberately security of those inputs. It encourages cutting out influencers that distort your thinking, even if doing so feels uncomfortable or socially awkward. Seeking out opposing viewpoints is emphasizing because growth comes from friction, not agreement. The goal isn't to adapt new belief systems, but to strengthen your ability to think independently. Critical thinking is treated like a muscle that weakens when you live inside chaos chambers and strengthen when challenged. The third idea moves from influence. Everything you consume, media, conversation, habit shapes how you often think. Without your awareness, this section argues from deliberately security of those inputs. The third idea addresses financial independence. The third idea addresses financial dependence. It frames money not as a status symbol, but as a leverage over your time and choices. Reducing needs, saving aggressively, and developing skills outside of a single job are present as ways to reduce fear-based compliance. Financial independence means having enough to margin to walk away from situations that violate your values or waste your life. It's not about luxury, it's about autonomy. The underlying claims that psychological freedom is fragile without financial breathing room because constant economic pressure limits what you were willing to question or refuse. Taking this all together, these three describe a system of exiting passive compliance. Control over attention follows. Clear thinking allows independent judgment. Independent judgment supports by financial autonomy allows real choice. The structure is intentional. You cannot change your life if your mind is fragmented. Your beliefs are outsourced or your survival depends on obedience. So, you need to be just aware and be very, very obedient to your own self, man, because you need to learn to really understand how you are and who you are. And that is very challenging because you've been conditioned to not know really who you are, man. You've been given a name, a birth, a place to stay, who your parents were, but you never really got to know who you started to be, because a lot of people, and especially in school, they condition you into believing that you need to be this person and this is how you're going to be. And if you go outside of this rule, if you start to question certain types of things, you are considered a bad person. And that, my friend, that was just very strange to me. Like, I never understood why I was labeled as a, dumb kid when I was just starting to, expand my knowledge and be more smarter than people. You know what I mean? Like, the transformed through action and inquiry. Okay, so this section is about breaking out of automatic living and consciously shaping becoming who you become. It focuses on three behaviors that move you from programming by your environment and being directed by your own values. The first idea is radical self-reflection. This means being honest with yourself in ways that are uncomfortable but necessarily. Instead of journaling to feel better, you journal to see clearly. You ask direct questions. What am I afraid of? What do I actually want if no one were watching? Which choices am I making just to stay safe or of proof? Silence matters here. Walking, meditating, or sitting without constant input allows burdened thoughts to surface. Therapy can support this process, but it cannot replace the growth and cannot be outsourced. You have to personally comfort the parts of yourself shaped by fear, habit, and social conditioning if you want to uncover what groundedly matters to you. The second idea is to experiment insight alone. It's not enough. You need lived evidence. This means internally doing things that scare you in a manageable way. Trying new activities, traveling alone, saying no when you normally comply, or allowing yourself to fail on purpose all weaken the fear of rejection and failure. Each experiment proves that discomfort is survivable and often produced. Connecting with people in real life who value honesty and growth reinforce this shift. Over time, these actions reduce size of your comfort zones holding on to you. The goal is not recklessness but flexibility, becoming someone who can even act when certainty is absent. And that's just difficult, man. So like to put this all together, these three practices from a loop: reflection gives awareness, experimentation turns awareness into confidence, questioning prevents you from falling back into passive beliefs. The overall message is simple: freedom comes from clarity, action, and responsibility, not from comfort, distraction, or waiting to feel ready. This system best trick is convincing you that waiting for the perfect moment to change is wisdom rather than cowardice. Start today, start imperfectly, or remain imprisoned forever. So the basic premise is to just start just start and let it be imperfect. Like, this is the whole reason why I started making videos and not even editing them. This is why I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna just do it out, because I've started to notice that the more I tend to just really, go raw dog it and just really go off this without my mind, and just really doing this naturally, and I'm building better like thoughts, and I'm reading better, and I'm understanding more how I can actually speak to you guys, and just everything is just more aligning to me, man. And it's better for me not to cut shit out, even though I do fuck up. It's better for me to just watch it and review it, and it's simple, man. Like, everything in life, you just need to make it simple, bro. Because the more simple that it is, make it like a minimalist, bro. Become a minimalist. Just seeing things that are just simple, bro. And the reality of freedom. There's no guarantee, only possibilities. So, what awaits beyond the prison? Breaking free doesn't guarantee happiness, success, or enlightenment. What it offers is something more valuable: authenticity. You see the game clearly, understand its rules, and choose consciously whether to how to play it, or whether to create entirely new games. The manufactured reality that once seemed incomprehensible becomes transparent, its mechanism visible and therefore less powerful. You'll discover that your true self might not be the grandiose version you imagined. It might be quieter, stranger, or more ordinary than expected. But it will be yours, not a product of algorithm, manipulation, social conditioning, or economic correction. That ownership of your own existence, however humble or extraordinary, turns out to be the ultimate liberation. So, from one life to live, no rehearsals, no do-overs. The question isn't whether the path is hard, but whether living asleep is harder. So, these 6 steps to freedom: simple, accountable, and proven. The only question is whether you'll take them or remain comfortable in captivity. Possibilities ahead. Once you break free from the manufactured limitations, the version of yourself you can become limitless. The choice has always been yours, even when the system convinces you otherwise. Every moment spent reading this without action is another moment in prison strengthen its hold. So, the mechanisms are laid out, the path is clear. The remaining question is, will you walk in it? Start small, start imperfect, but start today. Your automatic self and authentic self, whatever from it takes, is waiting on the other side of your courage. And you just need to have courage, bro. And courage is a very tough thing to do, because it's hard to face fears, man. But the more you start to understand more about this world, bro, it's very eye-opening, man. And I understand why a lot of people don't like this path, because it's just mind-boggling, man. But hopefully this video can help you out in escaping the matrix, and yeah, I'll see you on the other side, man.